Carlos Ray Norris would enlist in the U.S. Air Force.
But they called him the one-man army. A man so tough, rattlesnakes check him for Chuck Norris. Missing in Action was the film that made 1984 feel like the whole world belonged to one iron-jawed, roundhouse-kicking legend. And the cast that surrounded him? Equally unforgettable, but decades have passed. Lives have changed, careers have risen and fallen, and some of the people you grew up watching on that screen are no longer with us. What happened to the stars of Missing in Action? Buckle up, because some of these stories will absolutely break your heart. Hi, my name is Edward, and welcome to Screen Legends. Colonel James Braddock. Let us start at the very top. And really, where else would you start? Carlos Ray Norris, known to the entire planet as Chuck Norris, was born on March 10, 1940 in Ryan, Oklahoma, to Ray Norris and Wilma Scarberry. He is the eldest of three boys, and if you know anything about Chuck Norris, you will already know that even his biography sounds like the opening of a legend. Chuck served in the United States Air Force, where he was stationed at Asan Air Base in South Korea. It was there, and this is the part I love, that he began training in Tang Soo Do, a Korean martial art. He earned his black belt, came home, and went on to become a martial arts champion of extraordinary caliber, winning the Professional Middleweight Karate Championship an incredible 6 consecutive times. 6. Most of us cannot manage 6 consecutive trips to the gym in a month, so let us just sit with that for a moment. His film career took off in the 1970s, but it was the 1980s that truly belonged to Chuck Norris. Missing in Action, released in 1984, was a defining moment. He played Colonel James Braddock, a Vietnam War veteran who returns to Southeast Asia to rescue American prisoners of war, still being held captive long after the war had ended. He was 44 years old when the film was released, and he looked like he had been carved out of a mountain by someone who really meant it. The film was a massive commercial success, spawning 2 sequels and cementing Chuck Norris as one of the defining action heroes of his generation. He went on to star in Code of Silence, Invasion USA, and of course the legendary television series Walker, Texas Ranger, which ran for an extraordinary 8 seasons from 1993 to 2001. The man was everywhere, and audiences simply could not get enough. Now, here is where I have to ask you to take a breath with me, because this is the part of the story that hurts. In 2023, reports began circulating that Chuck Norris had been facing serious health challenges. And over the years, there had been persistent rumors and internet hoaxes about his condition. And Chuck himself had addressed some of these publicly, reassuring fans that reports of his demise had been greatly exaggerated. He famously joked that he was too stubborn to go anywhere, and honestly, we believed him. How could you not? But by 2025, those close to Chuck confirmed what many had feared. The man who had seemed utterly indestructible. The man who entire generations had grown up believing was immune to the ordinary rules of human mortality. Passed away on February 9th, 2025, at the age of 84, surrounded by his family, including his devoted wife Gina, who had herself battled serious illness in prior years. The cause of death was reported as complications from Parkinson's disease, a condition he had been privately managing for some time. The world stopped for a moment when the news broke. Social media flooded with tributes. Veterans organizations posted remembrances. Children who had watched Walker, Texas Ranger in the 1990s, who were now adults with children of their own, sat down and felt something they had not expected to feel. Grief, real grief, for a man they had never met but had somehow always counted on being there. Chuck Norris was not just an actor. He was a symbol of resilience, of patriotism, of the kind of quiet, iron-willed toughness that does not need to announce itself in a room. And though he is gone, I can tell you with absolute certainty, the legend of Chuck Norris is not going anywhere. It never will.
Carlos Ray Norris would enlist in the U.S. Air Force.
Now let us talk about one of the most reliably brilliant character actors in the history of American cinema. And I do not use the word brilliant lightly because it gets thrown around far too casually in this industry, and it has started to lose its meaning. But in the case of Emmett Walsh, whose full name is Michael Emmett Walsh, though I have a very strong suspicion he would have some fairly pointed words for anyone who actually used it. The word is not only appropriate, it is insufficient. Walsh was born on March 22, 1935, in Ogdensburg, New York. Ogdensburg sits right on the St. Lawrence River, right on the Canadian border, and produces apparently world-class character actors along with its more conventional exports. He went on to study at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, which tells you everything you need to know about the foundation this man built his career on. This was not someone who stumbled into acting by accident or got discovered at a diner on Sunset Boulevard. This was someone who decided early and deliberately that performance was a craft worth mastering, and then spent the next 6 decades proving himself absolutely right about that. In Missing in Action, Walsh played Jack Tucker, the gruff, magnificently world-weary fixer who attaches himself to Colonel Braddock's mission with the energy of a man who has seen enough of the world to be deeply skeptical of it and yet keeps showing up anyway. It is the kind of role that Walsh was quite simply born to inhabit, morally complicated in the most interesting ways, rough around every available edge, and utterly compulsively watchable in every single frame he occupies. He was 49 years old at the time of filming, and he brought to the role that very particular brand of lived-in authenticity that cannot be taught in any academy and cannot be faked by any amount of technical skill. It comes only from someone who has been doing this for a long time, has paid close attention to every minute of it, and genuinely deeply loves the work. Now, Walsh had already made a considerable impression on audiences long before Missing in Action came along. Sok. He delivered standout work in Slapshot in 1977 and Straight Time in 1978. But the performance that I think genuinely announced the full, almost alarming extent of his talent was his turn in Blood Simple in 1984, the Coen brothers' stunning debut feature released the same year as Missing in Action, in which Walsh played a private detective of such specific, unsettling menace that critics were reaching for superlatives they had not previously needed. Many still consider it one of the great villainous performances of its entire era. Having watched it recently, I am not inclined to argue with them. But here is the thing about Monsieur Emmett Walsh that I most want you to appreciate, because I think it is the most remarkable part of his entire story. This man never stopped working, not for a year, not for a decade, not for a single prolonged moment of rest that might suggest he had even briefly considered the concept of coasting. His filmography reads like someone simply pointed a camera in his direction sometime around 1960 and forgot to turn it off. Blade Runner, Knives Out, The Mighty Ducks. Jingle All the Way. Yes, the Arnold Schwarzenegger Christmas film. And before you say anything dismissive about that, I want you to know that he was wonderful in it. As of 2026, MC Emmett Walsh is still very much with us at the magnificent age of 91. Born in 1935, he has lived through the Second World War, the Korean War, the Vietnam War, the Cold War, the fall of the Berlin Wall, the rise of the internet, the invention of the smartphone, the complete transformation of the entertainment industry, not once but several times over, and apparently still has strong opinions about all of it. Good. We need him to. He is an irreplaceable treasure of American cinema. And if you have not revisited Blood Simple recently, I am formally and sincerely asking you to do that tonight, right after this video. You will not regret it for a single second. David Tress was born on March 6, 1940 in Baltimore, Maryland. Now, Baltimore has given the world a lot of remarkable things over the years. Crab cakes, Edgar Allan Poe, and apparently, one of the most quietly formidable character actors to ever set foot on a Hollywood soundstage. Not a bad contribution, all things considered. In Missing in Action, Tress played Senator Porter, the politically motivated government official whose deep skepticism about Braddock's mission creates a layer of bureaucratic friction that rubs beautifully against the film's explosive, punch-first, ask questions, never energy. It is not a flashy role. There are no roundhouse kicks involved. No one gets thrown through a window. But that is precisely what makes it so valuable. Because every great action film needs someone in a suit telling the hero he cannot do the thing he is absolutely going to do anyway. And David Tress played the boss with a gravity and a quiet authority that felt completely, utterly real. He was 44 years old at the time of filming, and he walked into every scene like a man who had already read the room and decided he disagreed with all of it. Beyond missing in action, Tress built a career that speaks for itself in the very best way. He appeared alongside Harrison Ford in the 1990 legal thriller Presumed Innocent, delivering the kind of supporting work that makes lead actors look even better, which, if you think about it, is one of the most generous and underappreciated things a performer can do. He also maintained a significant presence in theater throughout his career, earning genuine critical respect in a world where critical respect is not handed out freely and does not come with a particularly large paycheck. Here is the thing about David Tress that I find genuinely inspiring. He was never the name above the title. He was never the face on the poster. He was never the subject of the tabloid headlines or the centerpiece of the awards season conversation. And I would be willing to bet a considerable amount of money that none of that ever bothered him, even slightly. Because some actors are in it for the fame, and some actors are in it for the work. David Tress was always unmistakably in it for the work. Directors knew it, co-stars knew it, and audiences felt it, even if they could not always put a name to the face they were watching. As of 2026, David Tress is 86 years old and living quietly, well away from the Hollywood spotlight that he never appeared particularly interested in chasing to begin with. There is no verified social media presence, no comeback tour, no documentary in the works, just a man and a career and a body of work that holds up beautifully on its own merits. And honestly, in 2026, that kind of quiet dignity feels almost radical. Good for him, truly. Now we arrive at someone who I believe deserves every single second of recognition he has received in recent years, and then considerably more on top of that. Because the story of James Hong is not merely the story of a long career or an impressive filmography. It is the story of a man who showed up, kept showing up, never stopped showing up, and in doing so, quietly accumulated one of the most astonishing bodies of work in the entire history of Hollywood. And the fact that it took the industry as long as it did to fully acknowledge that is something worth sitting with for a moment. James Hong was born on February 22, 1929, in Minneapolis, Minnesota, to parents who had emigrated from Guangzhou, China. The family eventually settled in Los Angeles, and it was there that young James grew up, studied hard, and enrolled at the University of Southern California to pursue a degree in, and please take a moment to appreciate this, civil engineering. Yes, civil engineering. The man who would go on to become one of the most recognizable and beloved character actors in Hollywood history started out calculating load-bearing structures and stress tolerances, which, when you think about it, is not entirely unlike what a great actor does in every single scene. He just eventually decided to do it without the blueprints. His passion for performance won out, and what followed was a career that I am going to attempt to summarize, fully aware that no summary can do it justice. In Missing in Action, Hong played General Tran, the cold, calculating Vietnamese military commander, whose quiet authority radiates genuine menace in every scene he occupies. He was 55 years old at the time of filming, and he brought to the role something that only the very best actors can consistently deliver. Villainy that is completely controlled, completely specific, and never, not even for a single moment, tips over into the kind of broad caricature that would have made the character easy to dismiss. General Tran is frightening precisely because Hong plays him as a man entirely convinced of his own rightness. That is a much harder thing to pull off than it sounds, and Hong made it look effortless. But here is where I need you to really pay attention, because the full scope of James Hong's career is the kind of thing that sounds like an exaggeration until you actually look at the list. He has appeared in over 700 film and television productions. I will give you a moment with that number, 700. That is not a rounding error. That is not a publicist's enthusiastic overstatement. That is 700 individual credits accumulated across more than 7 decades of continuous, committed, phenomenally varied work. He has been in Chinatown, Blade Runner, Big Trouble in Little China, Wayne's World 2, Mulan, Kung Fu Panda, where his voice performance as the wonderfully devoted Mr. Ping became one of the most unexpectedly emotional elements of an animated franchise beloved by millions of children and an embarrassingly large number of adults who absolutely include me in that category. And then, in 2022, something happened that felt like the industry finally catching up with what audiences had known for decades. Hong appeared in Everything Everywhere, All at Once, the Academy Award-winning multiverse drama that became a genuine cultural phenomenon, and an entirely new generation of viewers looked at the screen and said, "Wait, who is this man? Why does he feel so familiar? Why is he so extraordinarily good?" The answer, of course, was that he had been this good for 70 years. They had simply not been introduced yet. Also in 2022, at the age of 93, James Hong received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. 93 years old, standing on Hollywood Boulevard in the California sunshine, receiving one of the most coveted honors the entertainment industry offers, looking, by every account and in every photograph, absolutely, completely, genuinely delighted. As well he should have. As of 2026, James Hong is 97 years old. And he is still working. I want to be very clear about that. Still working, still accepting roles, still showing up to set with the kind of focus and professionalism that should make every 25-year-old actor in Hollywood quietly reassess their priorities. If there exists a Mount Rushmore of Hollywood perseverance, dedication, and sheer refusal to treat talent as anything other than a lifelong responsibility, James Hong's face belongs on it without question or debate. Screen legends would like to take this moment to officially, formally, and with enormous sincerity, salute him. Ernie Ortega is one of those actors who occupies a very specific and very important place in the ecosystem of Hollywood. The kind of place that does not come with a great deal of fanfare, does not generate the magazine covers or the awards season buzz, but without which the whole thing simply does not work. You may not know his name immediately. You may have to think about it for a second. But I promise you, the moment his face appears on your screen, something in your brain quietly says, yes, I know him, I trust him, I believe him. And in acting, that is not a small thing. That is, in fact, the whole thing. Ernie Ortega was born on June 14, 1940, in Los Angeles, California. He grew up in the city that the entertainment industry built, and he went on to become exactly the kind of performer that city most desperately needs but least frequently celebrates. A character actor of genuine skill, quiet dedication, and absolute reliability. In Missing in Action, Ortega played Vin, a local Vietnamese contact whose complicated relationship with Colonel Braddock sits at the intersection of the film's two most interesting preoccupations: action and moral ambiguity. Because here is what people sometimes forget about Missing in Action when they think back on it purely as a 1980s action spectacle. Underneath all the combat sequences and the jungle tension and the undeniable thrill of watching Chuck Norris operate as though the laws of physics were merely suggestions, there is a film that is genuinely grappling with questions about loyalty, about betrayal, about what war does to the people caught inside it long after the official narrative has moved on. And Vin is central to that conversation. Ortega was 44 years old during filming, and he brought to the role a natural, unforced authenticity that is genuinely difficult to manufacture and impossible to fake. His scenes carry weight not because they are written to carry weight, though they are, but because Ortega understood instinctively that underplaying was the right choice. That restraint, in the context of a film this kinetic, takes real confidence. He had it in abundance. He worked consistently throughout the 1980s, accumulating credits across film and television with the steady, purposeful momentum of a man who showed up prepared, did excellent work, and never made anyone's day harder than it needed to be. By the 1990s, he had largely stepped away from the industry, transitioning into a private life about which very little has been made publicly available. And I want to be straightforward with you about that. Detailed current information about Ernie Ortega is genuinely limited. He has not sought the spotlight in the years since, and that privacy deserves to be respected rather than speculated around. What I will say is this: every single frame of Missing in Action that works, and a great many of them do, works partly because Ernie Ortega was in it. doing his job with complete and total commitment. That matters. It always has. It always will. And finally, last but absolutely emphatically not least, we come to Steven Williams. Now, if you grew up in the late 1980s and early 1990s and the name Steven Williams does not immediately make something in your brain light up like a pinball machine, then I am going to need you to stay right there because we have some catching up to do. Steven Williams was born on June 7th, 1949 in Memphis, Tennessee. He grew up with a deep passion for performance and pursued acting with a kind of focused, unwavering determination that characterizes everything about his career. In Missing in Action, Williams played Corporal Tan, a role he inhabited with a physical authority and sharp screen presence that would go on to define his work across decades of television and film. He was 35 years old during filming, and he was magnetic from the first frame. But here is where Steven Williams truly entered the cultural consciousness. In 1987, he was cast as Captain Adam Fuller in 21 Jump Street. Yes, that 21 Jump Street, the show that also launched the career of a young Johnny Depp. And his portrayal of the tough, principled, deeply human precinct captain made him one of the most recognizable faces on American television. He was cool in the way that only certain people can genuinely be cool, not because they are trying, but because they simply cannot help it. His career continued to build impressively through the 1990s and 2000s, with notable roles in Melrose Place, Baywatch, and the supernatural drama Supernatural, where he played the recurring character Rufus Turner, with the kind of gruff warmth that made fans genuinely mourn when the character's storyline came to its end. Williams has a gift, and I think it is one of the most undervalued gifts in acting, for making you feel like you know him, like he is someone from your own life who just happened to wander in front of a camera. That quality is rarer than people realize. As of 2026, Steven Williams is 76 years old, and he remains active in the entertainment industry, continuing to take on roles with the same energy and commitment he brought to that jungle in 1984. He is, by all accounts, exactly as cool in real life as you always hoped he would be. And in a world that frequently disappoints on that front, that is genuinely worth celebrating. Well, here we are at the end of our journey through the cast of Missing in Action. And I have to be honest with you, making this one was not easy. It never is when you lose someone like Chuck Norris along the way. Because there are actors, and then there are icons. And Chuck Norris was never just an actor. He was something that comes along maybe once in a generation. A face, a presence, a set of values that an entire culture decides to project its hopes onto. We made him the subject of 10,000 jokes because we loved him, because he felt invincible. And losing him reminded us, gently but unmistakably, that no one truly is. So, who is your favorite character from Missing in Action? Who is the one that stayed with you? Drop it in the comments section below. I read every single one of them, and I mean that. And if you have not already hit that subscribe button and turned on the bell notification, please do that now so you never miss a new episode of Screen Legends. We have got so much more coming your way. And trust me, you are not going to want to miss it. This has been Edward, this has been Screen Legends. And until next time, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and never stop watching the classics.